And Bruce, you when you uh, moved to Portugal, you live in many places here, and not so popular ones, I would say. It's not Lisbon, it's not Porto.
Yeah, that's true.
And did you uh, think that there was some kind of a language barrier, not being a Portuguese citizen who speaks Portuguese fluently? Even though I do think that you speak very good Portuguese, and congratulations for that. But
Well,
was
not when I
there?
first got here, Victor.
I
Okay,
I
not,
I can
when I
imagine.
first got here, as with most people, see, I've gone out of my way because I love language. I love language. And people said to me, "Oh, it'll be easy for you to learn Portuguese because you're fluent in Spanish. Spanish and English are the same to me." But it's not. It's harder for me speaking Spanish because even if I get the vocabulary correct and the words right, the grammar is different, the pronunciation is different, and I've had to remove that filter so it doesn't go in one come in as Spanish and go out as Portuguese. I'm one of those people that what right now we're in Spain. The first week that I was in Spain, every other word that came out of my mouth was Portuguese. I remember the first lesson. Portuguese friends of ours who do not, this is very close to when we first moved to Portugal. Um, Friends in the small village where we lived did not speak any English, just Portuguese. They did speak Spanish, and you will find out that many Portuguese people, they don't want to admit it, but they will tell you that when they were growing up, there were only two channels, TV channels in Portugal. So they tuned into Spanish TV, which is dubbed as opposed to subtitles, and they've learned Spanish that way. But I respect them and I want to speak their language. And so at any rate, we went out on a double date with these Portuguese friends of ours. And there's something that in a number of Spanish cities, towns, and so forth, where there's a movie theater, they have something called cinema jantar, okay, where you can get to see a movie and you have a choice of a number of restaurants that are in the shopping center. And it's €9. €9 to have a meal of your choice, and really good acoustics, good pictures, and so forth. But we were going out to eat first. We got our tickets because this is another little difference that you pick up. Now they seem just natural to me, but when we first got here, I didn't realize that in movie theaters, like concerts and whatever, you go first and you pick out your seats. Okay, they don't just open the door and everybody rushes in and grabs what your side. You pick your seat where you want, and then we went to eat, and after eating, we went back to the movie. So I ordered vino, which is how, I said, vino tinto, por favor. And she goes, no, vino, vino. And I got so used to saying vino, vino, with your teeth on your tongue, that when I went to Spain, I asked for wine, and I asked vino tinto. They said to me, Bruce, ¿qué te pasa? What's happened to you? Don't you know how to speak Spanish anymore? It took me a week. It took me a week. Each time that we go to Spain, the first week, half of what comes out is Portuguese. And when we go back to Portugal, the first week, half of what comes out is Spanish. So we call it Portañol, Portañol,
True.
but
It's funny. It's funny. This kind of situation where our brain gets used to to be used in a certain way, change it. It's hard.
yeah.
I I can relate to that. And but I totally think that. just for someone to know Spanish, it don't be as easy as people think it is to learn Portuguese. There are different languages, the accent, as you mentioned, uh, and just for example, me being a person who was born in a Portuguese spoken language, I sometimes it's hard for us to really know if that word, that specific word, is can be used in Spain as well, because there are many that you can use both in Portuguese and Spain, or
Yes.
if not, if it's oh this is a Portuguese one, the or it's complex.
It is, just one little example. There are some wonderful markets throughout Portugal, and we love going to markets. Some of them are like flea markets and antique markets, and some of them are everything that sells everything from live animals to fruit and produce and so forth. But we needed to buy something called a level. All right, it's like, so you make sure that a painting is hanging straight or that you've done something straight. And I had no idea what the word for level is in Portuguese, but I tried my Spanish word nivel, and it just turned out that it's the same word. So yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons, and to have Spanish in your back pocket and try. What does offend me as non-Portuguese person, because I have gone out of my way to learn Portuguese, and it's frustrating because everyone, so many people in Portugal do speak English. Now it's required from the very beginning years in school. It's not considered a foreign language. A foreign language would be French or Greek or Russian or whatever else, but English is like math and science and so forth. But across the generations, except for the small villages that, there are many of throughout the country, most of the time people will speak English or speak a little English, and they want to practice their English with you. So no sooner do I open my mouth in Portuguese that they can tell that I'm not Portuguese, and they try to answer me in English. And that's been a matter of etiquette. And there, because I don't want to offend my Portuguese people that I'm dealing with, but I want to learn Portuguese. And so after a few things back and forth, I will say to them, desculpe por favor, mas sou americano, estou tentando falar português, não tenho oportunidade, porque todo mundo aqui fala inglês. Now, I couldn't have said that, I couldn't have said that 2-3 years ago. As simple as that is, in terms of Portuguese, it's only by dealing with neighbors. Okay,
Yeah.
it's only by watching television. It's only by I read the weekly newspaper of my locate, in the area that I live, and I'm a car freak. So there's the cheapest magazine to buy is a monthly called Carros. Okay, and I buy Carros every month, and so between all of those things, so now I've made it a joke with people. Okay, you want to speak English and practice English, I understand that, but we'll do this. You speak English to me, and I will speak Portuguese to you. And if you make a mistake, I will help you. If I make a mistake, you will help me.
Nice. That's a nice exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you were, of course, you were such a proactive person, and I would do the same. I would do the same if I were moving to another country. Actually, for me, being Brazilian, it was not as straightforward as I thought it would be to understand Portuguese people and to speak back to them. There are some differences between the Brazilian Portuguese and the Portuguese from Portugal. Nowadays, if you see someone speaking, can you differentiate if
Yes, I
it's
can.
you can?
Brazilian, Brazilian is a softer, more of a sing-song accent. I very much like listening to. It's not as guttural sounding as European. But I would mention this to your viewers and your audience. A lot of people use Google Translate. All right. And if you use Google Translate, in the pull down menu, one of the options is Portuguese. But what's going to come up is Brazilian Portuguese.
Yeah.
If you want to use Google Translate, you go to Google first and say, Google Translate European Portuguese to English. And then you will get a different type of Portuguese that is more in line with,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for the. I didn't know about it as well. That's
you
a
have
good
to
tip.
specify. You have to specify that you want, and it doesn't show up, on the pull down menu from Google Translate. You have to you have to look for it, European Portuguese.
I see.